All right, yo. What's going on, man? All right. I know this is a late one. This is another late one, but it's been a few days. So I said, let me jump on here and go ahead and do another live, and we'll just kind of talk about these fights tonight. Um, PFL 10, the featherweight fights. I'll go ahead and say it. They weren't bad, but they weren't like through the roof either. You know what I mean? Like I've seen some, I've seen better nights, even like with some Bellator fights. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just telling the real man. Like I wasn't blown away, man. Like off of performances, like we should be. With how they're selling the PFL and what you think about them right now. I'm kind of wanting to see, a little bit more. But hey, I was grinding tonight, and I said, let me kick back and watch these while I'm doing my business and everything. So I said, okay, this will work for now. But wasn't anything like spectacular. Kayla Harrison just making her return back after a year off. And you got Aspen Ladd, and Aspen Ladd. Sometimes she's here, sometimes she's there. So I wasn't really expecting, something to be something like really, really crazy, memorable like that. You know what I mean? So, the Pacheco fight, Pacheco fight was entertaining, but it's definitely saying some things. It's definitely saying some things here, and with Chris Cyborg making the jump over because of the Bellator PFL merger, kind of tells you something, doesn't it? Hang on one second. Kind of tells you that we gotta see a little bit more here. That's one thing. Got to see a little bit more from these two fighters if they want to, get in there with Chris Cyborg. I'll just say that right now. Because when I look at the action from tonight compared to Chris Cyborg and her experience throughout the years, I mean, hey, I have to kind of lean towards Chris here right now for what I was seeing tonight from both performances. Um, looking back, looking at the Aspen Ladd and Kayla Harrison fight, I think, like I said, Kayla Harrison been out for a year. She did look a little bit rusty. She said she was feeling a little rusty. I was kind of expecting her to take her time a little bit in this fight and use her striking a little bit more. Looked like she was trying to strike a little bit here and show something different. She didn't want to look too predictable. But what it all came down to again was what she knows, her ground game. She had good control in this fight, still about her physical strength. She didn't really go in there and like ragdoll Aspen Ladd too much, but it was just all about position. She just had the better position in this fight. And Aspen Ladd just didn't really look like she had the energy to get too many reversals. She had a couple of moments in there where she was able to get up and she had like one reversal, but Kayla Harrison was just, too strong and too fast for her and was able to control on top. So yeah. Aspen Ladd, one thing I was questioning was will will her experience from the UFC carry over into this fight? But then I thought about it and I was like, well, she's got the UFC experience, but she's never really like went in there and dominated her. Like she's never really got close to winning a belt in the UFC, right? So with the level of fight that she's been on throughout her career, I said, I still got to lean towards Kayla Harrison in this fight. Kayla Harrison is the one with more of a mentality of going in there to get the finish or going in there to win, and she's already been at championship level, even if it is PFL, right? You know, so yeah, Aspen Ladd didn't really offer like this big challenge, but I think that some things she did was a little troublesome for Kayla Harrison as far as on the ground. Um, I didn't really see Aspen Ladd improving her own striking. She was actually getting outstruck by Kayla Harrison, in my opinion. As soon as I saw Kayla Harrison landing them left hands, I was like, oh boy, Aspen Ladd done dropped the notch of a level. She just dropped a couple of notches here. She just dropped a couple of levels, man. Like Her level of striking is not even on a par with Kayla. Like, she was letting Kayla hit her with some big shots, and I was like, okay, come on now, like, you've been in here before, she's letting her hands let her hands go in the pass. What's going on? But I don't know, man. Maybe it just goes back to the Aspen Ladd fight with GDR. Like, maybe ever since she just got dropped from that fight, she's just never been the same. Like, she used to go in and be a little bit more aggressive, but ever since she got caught with that right hand from GDR, in my opinion, I just don't think she's ever taken the same approach. She just never been that aggressive anymore, and it's kind of changed her as a fighter. You know. But yeah, I thought Kayla Harrison did enough to win the fight. It was like 30-27, right? I basically had her win it every single round. But off of this win here, and seeing that she called out Chris Cyborg now, she's like, her girl from Bellator is over here, champion from Bellator is over here now, and so and so. She was making the call out. It sounds like that's the fight that she wants now. So if they make that fight, I would still have to lean towards Chris Cyborg going forward. I still didn't see anything too slick and too sharp that Chris Cyborg wouldn't be able to figure it out. Now, if she was able to just impose her physical strength on Chris round after round, which I doubt she'd be able to do, that's the only way she could really win this fight. And if she could just get top control all night and just use her takedown, if she could use her takedown accuracy and her takedown ability on Chris Cyborg, then yeah, maybe. But I think with Chris's movement and her power, and her much better striking skill and even ground game, even just her overall ground game as well. Chris Cyborg's BJJ level is very high. I think she'll be able to neutralize a lot of what Kayla's bringing to the table. Didn't really see anything special about her striking in this fight, except the fact that she was just trying and letting it go more. There's still just like two separate levels, they're just, Chris is here, Kayla's on this side. I don't really see Kayla bringing too much of this threat to Chris Cyborg. Not right now. I don't think it would be a fight she could win if it is her next fight. If Chris chooses to fight any of the PFL fighters, they might have to make it a little interesting where Kayla Harrison can rack up a couple more wins. This fight was at a catch weight of 150, so I don't know what they'll do. Will they do it at 145? Will they do it at 155, or will they create some type of 150 belt? Who knows, But right now, it's just as a win. This is just another win for Kayla to kind of get back in the mix against Aspen Ladd. Aspen Ladd was just really a short notice since Julia Budd had pulled out of the fight, So, yeah, I can't really say this was Aspen Ladd was going to be like this huge challenge for Kayla Harrison to me. Other fight though, Larissa Pacheco versus Marina Mokhnatkina. Shout out to Marina, man. I was rooting for her in this fight. I just think she came in there with the wrong game plan. Like, staying on the outside and running like that and trying to stay completely out of range against a hard puncher, that just doesn't work. That just won't work because you're giving that person a lot of respect, and Pacheco's getting a lot of room to let her punches go. Now, I will say this, Marina did show a great chin. She did show a great chin in this fight. And I was hoping she was going to use that to her advantage by fighting in the pocket a little bit more. Like, not necessarily trading, but I wanted to see Marina be a little bit more physical and push Pacheco back and stay on the inside, kind of like Aaron Blanchfield did to Jessica Andrade. I wanted to see her be physical and tie up Pacheco, smother her power, and, kind of get those tie clinches and knee Pacheco to the body. But I think they just came in with that game plan where they wanted to shoot from a distance and maybe time Pacheco. But after eating a few of them right hands in like the first round, I think that kind of like took a bit of the fight out of Marina. Not like didn't make her give up because she was still in the fight. She was still in the fight all the way to the end, but it definitely had Marina Mokhnatkina a little groggy. Like, she looked groggy in that first round when she took a couple of them big shots from Pacheco, and like when she went into one clinch, I kind of saw like a different, I saw like a different energy there with her. She looked a little sluggish at first, but I think when she got back into the second round, she was a little bit more used to the power and accustomed to it, because then she tried to take more chances. She went to the ground a little bit. She tried to get like that knee bar, and she was going for it, man. She was going for it, like she was trying to get that submission right then and there, man, because she knew she didn't want to go that many rounds. She tried, she did try, but Pacheco's jiu-jitsu was just good. She's been in the game for a minute, and her submission defense was on point. She was able to break out of the knee bar attempt, and get it back to the feet. But I think Pacheco did do a lot of damage with some of them punches, even to the head with the right hands. Even when she was on top, landing some hard shots to the ribs, I think some of that stuff kind of slowed Mokhnatkina down to a point where she was just looking for quick moments to get in there and maybe try to steal a submission win somehow. But I think Mokhnatkina, I think she gave Pacheco some tough moments in the second round, but I think Pacheco, she pretty much sweeped it. She sweeped it into the last round. I gave the last round to Mokhnatkina, of course. She pretty much controlled that last round, with her top control and, just keeping that position and, getting that takedown on Pacheco and controlling that round and keeping Pacheco on the back, keeping Pacheco from landing any good strikes. But I like what Marina Mokhnatkina was doing as far as like her movement, because she was able to kind of tire Pacheco, and that should have been her moment to pounce. Like I said, I think when Pacheco kind of chased her a lot and she wasn't able to hurt her, that was Marina's chance to, land combinations, man. Because when Marina let her hands go, she landed a couple good jabs. Like, she did pop Pacheco with a couple of good right hands off of the break in the clinch and a couple of good jabs, And when I saw that, I said, oh, okay, like if she's fighting a much more polished boxer or striker, yeah, she'll be in some trouble. Pacheco could be in some trouble here. But, Marina, I think, their game plan was just stay out of the way of the power instead of going into the power. And if you're going into the power, I think you have a better chance. Like, I'm not saying you eat the punches, but you just go into that. You go into that, not into the punches, but into the fire zone of the Pacheco, and you smother that person. You smother the power shots, and you clinch them. You be physical with them. Because if she would have been more physical with Pacheco, I think she would have had more. She would have had more in her gas tank. But she took a lot of big punches from the outside, and letting Pacheco work her on the ground too with punches. That kind of wore out more than just wrestling with her. So I think if she would have spent more time cage wrestling and having more of a game plan to be physical and maul Pacheco, or try to maul Pacheco, and just an inside wrestling type of fight, she might have had a better chance, to do a little bit more damage. But yeah, it was like 4 rounds to 1. I think Mokhnatkina just showed a good game of being durable. Just won the last round, but outside of that, she didn't really have anything for Pacheco. But I think moving forward though, same deal here, man. Oh, you said so. If champ versus champ, that means Pacheco versus Cyborg is next. Yeah, I think if they do something like Pacheco versus Cyborg, if Pacheco doesn't land like a good solid right hand, I could still see Chris Cyborg possibly picking her apart. Because seeing Mokhnatkina land a couple good jabs and not executing, I see a fighter like Chris Cyborg seeing that opening and landing consecutive jabs on Pacheco and then landing her own right hand. Now, if they exchange right hands, I don't know how it would go. Like if they would exchange right hands and get into a slugfest like Cyborg and Nunes did, I don't know how that would go. Depends on who would get hurt first. But the more patient fighter and the more consistent boxer, which would be Chris Cyborg, I would favor her jab I would favor her to possibly win and maybe stop Pacheco if she's like continuously pumping out a good jab on Pacheco and wearing her down. Because I think Chris Cyborg is better at cutting the cage off, and I think Pacheco did a little bit of chasing in this type of fight. That's why she got a little winded in it. But I don't know, man. I don't I don't see like the real hype after seeing these performances tonight. I don't see them being like this huge threat to Chris Cyborg. Pacheco, of course, maybe. Yeah, I definitely would say she would be the one. But with Kayla Harrison calling out Chris Cyborg, I don't see Kayla Harrison being this huge threat to Chris Cyborg, especially if they do it at 145. Kayla Harrison, I will say she looked good moving down to 150, for this fight. If she moves down to 145, I'm sure she could. It seems like she's been, moving down the right way. She, she didn't look off. She didn't look weak or anything like that. Just the layoff kind of maybe affected her a little bit. But other than that, I thought physically, Kayla Harrison looks good. But as far as the technique and the skill sets, I don't see anything that's going to be like this huge threat to Chris Cyborg. I mean, it's more of just like a money thing at this point if they make the fight, more for show. But I think the more interesting fight would be Larissa Pacheco. But even then, I think with Chris Cyborg's experience, even in boxing, and just her ability to land more punches and throw more, I think that she would win more of a distance battle. So Pacheco going into a Chris Cyborg fight, to me, would still have to look for that one big right hand, and she would have to set it up with her timing and be a little bit more patient and not look for big punches. But she did show a little bit of fatigue in this fight, even whenever Marina Mokhnatkina wasn't even like pushing too much. When she started grappling with Marina, started grappling and started giving her moments on the ground, she seemed to be a little bit kind of tight, a little bit weird, a little bit fatigued in there, and then when she just spent the last round on her back, like I guess she just felt she banked the rounds and all she had to do was survive the rest of the fight because she was so tired. Maybe that was her game plan, but definitely has to be a different approach to make the Cyborg fight a little bit more interesting. That's how I feel though. But yeah, man, I just wanted to jump on here and give some quick thoughts on this, this PFL card, the women's fights. Yeah, Kayla Harrison making her return, and like I said, she's calling out Chris now that PFL and Bellator merged, if you will. So we'll see how that goes. I believe Pacheco probably wants to fight too. Of course, they didn't really ask her them questions in the cage, which I thought was crazy. They didn't really do like an interview. They didn't really ask her questions in the cage, like what's next for you, what you want to do next. Well, they do got 2 title fights too, so they probably didn't want to, they didn't want to waste a lot of time. They had 3 title fights tonight total. So hey, we'll see what happens from here. But yeah, let me get up out of here, y'all. I'll jump back on maybe for a little bit tomorrow night. I just wanted to do a real quick after show from tonight's fights, and I'll talk more about it tomorrow and a couple other things too. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna check this out. I'm gonna try to check this out tomorrow. Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor rematch. I got Chantel Cameron again. I think Chantel Cameron, Katie Taylor too. It should be a good fight, but I think Cameron should win the fight again. I think she's a stronger puncher. I think she's a more solid puncher too than Katie. I think Katie throws a lot of flurries. Katie can win the fight if she's outboxing, if she stays out of the way. Even though she has fast hands, Katie's still hittable. Like she throws a lot of quick combinations, but her head is still right there. That's why she takes big bombs sometimes in these fights. But I think Cameron, she has the I think she has the overall better technique when she's letting her punches go and just how she's setting them up. Her hits seem to be a little bit more solid too. So I think I'm gonna lean towards Chantel Cameron tomorrow to defend her belts and win the rematch against Katie Taylor. But yeah, that's all I got on this one, guys. I'm about to get up out of here. Combo Breaker 99. Make sure y'all subscribe. I'm out. Peace.